see. I've tasted what it means. Now nothing else is good enough for me. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need. You're all I need. Oh, I need you. Yeah, I need you. Oh, I need you now. Now I owe it all to you, giving my heart to you, freedom becoming true. Nobody else like you, do what you promised to, and I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your love. I'm so grateful, grateful, grateful. I'm so grateful. I need you in my life. Grateful, grateful,
What's up, everybody? We are live and we're back after a couple weeks off. Everybody was busy. We went away, went on vacation, had the holiday, the 4th of July holiday, and now we're back and we're ready to do another stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you're out there, make sure you guys are hitting that like button, sharing this video with your friends. Let us know that you're here. Drop a comment in if you're watching on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, Twitter, X, Rumble, Facebook, wherever you're watching right now, multi-streamed out there. Make sure you guys hit that like button and share this video. Drop a comment, say what's up, and also be ready to join into the conversation. We got a lot to talk about today. The DOJ dropped an announcement about the Epstein client list that was kind of crazy. And also, you know, we found out that Democrats hate America once again. We also got to talk about the Carnival cruise being racist. We're going to get into that a little bit. Also, the EBT panic that's going on out there. And some more stuff other than that, but we'll get into it. You are here. You're watching Young Lion TV. Let's go.
young lion, everywhere I look, they dying. Everywhere I look, they dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they dying. Everywhere I look, they dying. Young lion, won't you get up and start fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young lion.
That's right, Young Lion TV, like we do it every Tuesday night. Again, we're back after a couple weeks being off, and we missed you guys, and we're ready to get into some conversations. We're here in the studio. I got my brother, the most confusing man in the podcast land. Mm-hmm. He's joining me in studio, the half black, half Indian with the Spanish last name. Mr. James Garcia is here.
That's right.
Thank you for being here, brother.
What's going on?
I haven't seen you in a while, man.
Yeah, it's been a while, man.
It's been a while.
I've been calling in, though.
Yeah, you have been. You have been. But I mean, even like since we left and everything, I haven't seen you. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen you.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's good to see you.
Yes, sir.
And of course, we got holding down the production in the studio. My mom, we love her. She's the best producer in the world. Miss Angelique Lopez is here. And I am the host holding it down, trying to navigate these waters as we pull up these clips and talk about these topics. Going to try to keep everything running smooth if I can. And going to try to bring in the other brothers when they call in a little bit later. But I am the guy that looks like every light-skinned / white dude with a beard that you might see out in the streets. My name is Jamie Evans. And it's funny because in Puerto Rico, a freaking Puerto Rican on the beach starts calling me Conor McGregor. A guy selling some of the stuff.
Yeah, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, so it was funny. But yeah, so it says, Mon says waiting to join, Mom. Do you see him on there? I would say try clicking off and go and try joining it again, Simone. Yeah, but man, the vacation was nice. Puerto Rico was nice.
Yeah, how was that?
It was good, man. It was awesome too.
First time going to Puerto Rico.
First time going. I gotta say it's up there on like one of the best islands.
Okay.
For me, like experience wise, just like the vibes. Puerto Ricans are definitely like the way they love their culture here. It's very much like that when you go to Puerto Rico. There's flags everywhere. They love blasting music.
Was it dirty?
No.
Okay.
It wasn't. It actually wasn't. Especially where we were staying. It was very clean.
Nice.
But, there is different parts. We didn't go like when we went to Old San Juan, there is an area like right on the beach that they say the locals don't go down there. And that's like, it's dirty there. There's like a little strip like right along the beach where like it's down a hill. And if you go down that hill, you enter into like the ghetto and they tell you like there's people standing guard because there's so many tourists around there. There's people in those like almost like the favelas in Brazil where like if you go down, if you start walking down that hill, they'll stop you and be like, don't come down here,
Right. That's good.
Yeah, so it's there is that little area, but we didn't, that's not where we were staying in Luquillo, which is like this really nice hipster beach town. And it was right on the beach, beautiful. We could walk to, there was hipster coffee shops and like a little beer garden like right up the street from where we were staying. So it was cool.
Nice.
And your sister really liked it too. Like she was surprised how much she liked Puerto Rico. A lot of it reminded her of Trinidad. As we were driving around, especially when we went to. You see like the pictures and videos of the river that we went to with all the rocks and the swings. Yep. So like when we were driving there and heading there, we had to go through the mountains and go through like the village. Yeah. And there, people's properties have breadfruit trees and mango trees, avocado trees everywhere. There's chickens everywhere, So it reminded her of Trinidad.
Yeah, I mean the pictures you posted, it looked great.
Yeah, it was one thing that I really liked is because even like the beach that we stayed on, that our condo was right on the water, like in like the little inlet in Luquillo. And I was saying to them the whole time, like from the first couple of days we were there, like, man, like this is, you would think that there would be like, because you know how in Trinidad, like there's people selling food right on the beach. There's like people grilling out there, selling drinks and stuff like that. There's a beach culture, like and it wasn't that there. And I'm like, man, it's like where's the coconuts? Where's the but then we found out that right up the street is where all that was, and that's where we posted those pictures on the beach where
and that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's that was more like a private kind of like quiet beach. And then when you go up the road like 5 minutes, that's where everybody goes. And there's like the coconut stands. There's the bars right there. You can get mojitos and all that.
Trinidad
right
has that too.
Yeah.
There's parts of Trinidad where it's like, I think most cultures or most different countries, they're very similar. Like we know, like we're here. We know what Camden looked like. We know what North Philly looked like.
Right.
We know what Rittenhouse looks like. We know what like Princeton looked like.
Yeah.
I think it surprises us when we travel, most Americans really, to find other countries functioning in a way, because you're expecting either abject poverty or you're expecting, I don't know what the expectation is. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you go.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're expecting that third world vibe, which that does exist.
Of course.
But, another thing that we had to keep wrapping our minds around, because we kept saying like, oh, when you're in our country, I'm like, but that is part of America. You know what I mean? So it's like you forget.
It is, but it's so far removed.
It feels like you're in another country.
Yeah. It's a territory, but it's like, this is really not America. Though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think what we're surprised at is because when we look at because I do it too now, because I've been here 30 years. I feel like when you go to those places, we're there for a short time, but we're surprised to see how people are functioning. Like you said, like in your mind, this will be a great beach, but they've probably already come up with a rule like, nah, this is not for here.
Right.
Go over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So and we hadn't traveled yet, so I was actually wondering if that existed, you know.
Yeah.
And then we found it. Shout out to Jess. She commented. She said La Perfa. La Perla. That's the name of the instead of the favelas. La Perla is like that area where you're not allowed to go.
Yeah, but that's good that they're managing that though, because the locals are looking out for people.
Yeah,
because they want tourism,
right? Because it's big business for them, you know.
And that's a great economy.
Yeah.
Like when you have people, like we saw that in Barbados when we went, that the locals were very against their people robbing foreigners, or taking advantage of them,
right?
Because they want you to come back.
Yeah,
which is the way it should be.
They need that for their economy,
right?
You know,
right.
And the other good thing about Puerto Rico is, you know, U.S. currency, so there's no exchange rate.
Nice.
Everything is, you know, it seemed cheaper. Mm-hmm. It seemed cheaper, like food and stuff you could get real cheap.
Yeah. And probably really good food too.
Oh yeah, the food was good, man.
Yeah.
We found so many good food spots. Yeah. It's a lot of fried food, you know. Puerto Ricans love like the street food, especially is all fried stuff. The pastelillos and acapuria, relleno de papa, all that stuff.
But were they overweight though? The people when you walking around,
there was
okay.
There was
I thought you were
there was a mix.
Okay,
there was a mix, but it was hard to tell.
Not as bad as here.
It was hard to tell because a lot of times you're there, and then like the people we talk to are like, you know, they live there, but they're from here. Right. And then they moved there, you know,
okay.
Or they're there visiting family, or they're there on vacation too. Mm-hmm. So it was like there was a mix of so many different people. But, the dude I sent you the sandals of when we were making fun of socks and sandals, he was actually from Boston. Yeah. But he moved. He's Puerto Rican. He moved out there. Yeah.
But the food, so the fried food, it's not. Is it fried, authentic food or fried like here how like food is?
No. It's like homemade fried food. Yeah.
Right,
like it's like fried plantains,
right.
Fried yuca.
So aside from the oil, it's not like,
it's just like
processed.
You're eating a lot of fried food, so you feel heavy, you gain weight. You know, Simone just commented. He said, "I'm fat because of the food." Yeah, we were eating a lot. You know,
as you should. Yeah, you gotta enjoy that.
But then they had like the little hipster spots too. Like we said, there was a beer garden. Yeah, and they had a sushi place that was actually pretty damn good. Like they had some good, like these people, and it was Puerto Ricans making this food. Like
no Mexicans.
Nah, no. You didn't see that culture wasn't there either. Like working in the food spots. Simone said, James, it's still fried food. Mona, are you gonna jump on or what? Are you still waiting? Wait, let me see if I can get him on. Mom, put the camera on, James.
It was fried, dyed, and laid to the side. Yeah, no, I saw the pictures. Everything looked good, man. The kids looked like they had fun.
Oh yeah, they loved it.
You know.
They loved it.
You know. Oh, there he is.
Hey.
You're crooked. You're crooked.
Am I crooked?
You're sideways.
Yeah, you're sideways.
Yep. There we go. There it is.
There you
go. The flippy.
You got the Vic shirt up there, the American flag draped sideways. Nice. There it is.
Where's this? I don't know where the camera is.
You got the Vic shirt up there, the American flag draped.
Michael Vick.
Nice.
Yo, Mom, turn the live stream off.
Okay, yeah, my bad.
No, I wanted to say that because you guys were saying it. Mon, turn that off back there. Come on.
All right, cool. We got him up there.
Jessica said next time you should come.
I would love to.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it would have been good to have more people.
Everybody should come. Bro, everything was fried.
Everything.
I mean, I can't listen. That's how it is in Trinidad too. It's all fried food, man.
Fried.
It's just fast. That's just flavor. You know.
Yeah, when you frying all them starches and pastelillos and acapoya.
Yeah, I mean that's everywhere. Everybody just fry. It's just
Everybody's street is gonna have a lot of fried street
Yeah,
food.
it's fast.
It's fast, and it's like the most convenient thing to make
Yep.
on the go real
Yep.
quick for people.
Yep.
It's stores because they can fry a bunch of it and then put it in the window. You know?
And it's always a version of something you're familiar with.
Yeah.
You know.
But no,
Every
next trip.
culture has,
Go
every
ahead.
culture has like a dough with something inside of it. fried.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's Acapulco, not Puga.
That's
Say it
right.
again, Simone.
What she said?
Say Acapulco. Say Acapulco.
Acapoya.
Acapulco.
They know what he meant. Like, give him two.
You have to have that.
Y'all got some of that Acapulco?
James, I was testing out my Spanish out there, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the girl at the coffee spot laughing at me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's definitely cool to travel with family though. Like, and there was so much stuff in walking distance, and then there was, we also had cars, so we could just drive wherever we wanted.
Yeah.
So it was cool.
Well, we had cars, James.
Yeah.
Jamie.
I didn't get a car because, that was one of the bad parts about it was the place that we rented from was one of the budget places, right?
Okay.
And when we got there, it was chaos.
Uh-oh.
It was chaos. Like there was 100 people in line. People had been there for 3 hours. The place like overbooked. They didn't have cars. It was a nightmare. Jake and Moan rented from like Hertz and where did you get yours from? Budget. Like, so they were right in the airport.
Yeah.
And we got it from like Allied or something like that, which was like, you had to take a shuttle to.
Yeah.
And as soon as we got there and I'm looking around, I'm like, I told your sister, I'm like, I think we need to get back on the shuttle and go back to the airport. But then we started looking up cars and it was just like so expensive.
Yeah.
So Jake and Moan ended up coming and picking us up. And then we didn't end up needing a car because we could just ride with them to different places.
Nice.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was cool. So the next trip, Elise was saying, is Jake on? Did Jake get on? Oh, okay, I'm hearing. I knew I was hearing somebody else.
Oh, wait. But I put
Just
Jake
about to
on.
text you.
How do I put Mona and Jake?
I got you, Mom. So, what I was gonna say real quick before I go, we gave Elise the choice next year if she wants to have a Sweet 16 or go away. Right? She wants to go to Tobago.
Oh, nice.
So
We
that
there.
could,
We
that
there.
could be the
You
trip.
there, James?
Huh?
You there, James? I said, are you there?
Yeah, I could go to that. Well, not me, but the family.
Yeah. The whole entire family. Because, I've never been there, so that'll be something that the Chengs will do.
Yeah. Smart girl. She made the right choice. She said, Sweet 16? I'm going to go away.
The Sweet 16 is like, paying for a wedding. So Jamie's like, I get to have fun too? Sure. I heard Tobago is a spot to go to, though, James.
Yeah, Tobago is nice. The food in Trinidad is better. It's more available, but Tobago is more relaxed and like the beaches are way nicer in Tobago. Food's pretty good too.
I know a lot of the islands culturally, food wise, they kind of cook similar.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to offend islanders, okay? So from my experience, there's a lot of you guys use a lot of the same stuff. Trinidad's a little different because of the Indian indentured service. So it's more influenced by Indian.
Yeah, it's heavily.
How's Tobago culture? How's the
food there?
the food?
It's
food
more African, more It has some Indian influence, but not as much. It's more African based. Because Tobago really is not as mixed as Trinidad is. Tobago is predominantly black, so it's more African based. But the food is good. It's just that Trinidad just has more variety because the Indian, the Chinese, the Spanish, black, right. African, so it's more mixture. But Tobago is just nicer,
Yeah, it's more of the that you get more of the island resort feel in Tobago. Yeah. But from what I've heard, they have a food culture surrounded more around seafood.
Oh yeah, seafood
really fresh seafood.
Seafood
because they're getting it right there.
Yeah, seafood is heavy on seafood. I mean, maybe not as. The only thing is Tobago is small, so you're pretty much in one or two areas.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. But we saw some nice houses, bro.
Oh no,
nice Airbnbs.
There you'll get a deal.
Yeah, with pools, with like nice Airbnbs that we could all stay in one place.
Y'all looked it up already?
Yeah, we were already looking.
Oh yeah, this is in the works. Yeah. There's another place too that's really. My boss went there. It's called Belize.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah, we know where Belize is.
Man, it's beautiful. Man.
Yeah,
and Belize is the only English speaking. It's not in the Caribbean, but it's
in South America.
South America, so it's like on that coast right there, like close to Panama, Honduras, like Nicaragua, something like around there. But man, what he showed me, I was like, bro.
I heard about Belize. I heard it's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And they have places where it's like you could rent like little villas on the beach. It'll hold like 2 or 3 people, but like. They kind of have it set up like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed yourself. All the pictures I saw, you guys look like you were having a good time.
Yeah.
Even though we cracked a smile, I said, "Man, what's going on over there?"
that was tough to get him to crack a smile.
He was starting to have fun, swimming and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And he catching an ear infection.
Oh.
Yeah, Mon had to take him to. You just take him to a hospital in Puerto Rico, or the doctor.
Like an urgent.
Oh, okay.
It's an emergency
Okay.
room thing, but it was like an urgent care. That doctor looked in his ear. All she said was, "Yes."
Yes, I see.
And she prescribed him amoxicillin,
and it didn't work.
It didn't work, and he had to endure the whole ear infection. And after we got back home from Puerto Rico, we were gonna go to and spend 4th of July with Jessica's dad on the boat and watch fireworks and stuff like that out there. Thursday morning we were gonna drive. I look at the dude's ear, bro. After I mowed the lawn, I went to go wake him up. The back wall of his ear was purple, and it was like completely shut. I was like, "Oh my goodness, we gotta take him to the urgent care out here." And then the doctor was like, "Oh," she looked at it. She was like, "Oh, this it's a exterior ear infection. Those amoxicillin's not gonna do anything. He needs eardrops." And we started driving within 3 hours, bro. We stopped to get some food. I looked at his ears, completely clear.
Yeah. So you're saying there's a difference in the healthcare.
I'm not saying
food is fried, so is the healthcare.
I'm just saying all she did was look at his ear and said, "Oh yes."
Oh Jakes. Oh Jakes.
That's funny. Yeah, but speaking of 4th of July, let's get into some stuff, man. So we just had the 4th of July, which was the 249th year of America. And
hey, look at that. I can point it right. America.
Yeah. Mon's in his new basement man cave. I don't know if you been down there?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he's hooked it up a little bit. But yeah, so
come watch games out here.
So one of the things I want to show from the top was they did a poll on CNN about how proud people are to be Americans. It's 4th of July. Are you proud to be American?
I think I saw this.
You saw this? So Uh,
And I'm proud to be an American.
hey, we got two people on this. We got two people on this stream right now that had to sing that song when they became
And
citizens.
I'm proud to be an American.
But no, let's check out this. Let's just check out this clip real quick.
Erica, my friend, happy 4th of July. And today on our Independence Day, I'm looking into whether or not Americans feel proud to be an American. And as it turns out, Democrats, their percentage who say they're proud to be an American has fallen through the floor. What are we talking about? Take a look here. Democrats proud to be an American, extremely or very proud. In 2015, look at this. 4 out of 5 Democrats were extremely or very proud to be an American. That number has plummeted to just 36% now in 2025. A low this century has fallen by more than half since 2015. As
36% of people polled.
And that's just in their newsroom.
Yeah. That's just their staff.
They poll themselves.
Right.
Donald Trump has
They
become,
said
of course,
Democrats, right?
Yeah, Democrats. Yeah.
Exactly. They're Democrats.
Yeah, 36% of Democrats as opposed to 80% in 2015. And that's when, right before Trump ran, of course.
once again this year. Now, what is driving that decline? Well, a lot of it has to do with age. What are we talking about? Well, Generation Z Democrats, proud to be an American or not. Of course, Generation Z, born since 1997. Look at this. Only 24% of Generation Z Democrats are extremely or very proud to be an American. That is actually lower, Erica. That is lower than the percentage who say they have little or no pride to be an American at 32%. I just never thought I'd see these numbers based upon where we were a decade ago, but that's exactly where we are. Now, if Democrats have extremely less pride to be an American than they used to, what about Republicans? Well, this is where the trend line gets interesting, because with Republicans, there is no trend line. In fact, take a look here. Republicans' pride to be an American, extremely or very proud. In 2015, it was 90% back when Barack Obama was serving his second term. Now, in Donald Trump's second term, it's basically the same percentage, 92%. So Republicans still are extremely or very proud to be an American. Democrats, on the other hand, have seen their numbers fall through the floor, led, of course, by the youngest generation, Generation Z. We'll see how these numbers turn going forward, but the bottom line is, whether or not the folks out there are extremely or very proud to be an American, I'm extremely or very proud to be with you, Erica Hale. Happy.
So and then other people have shown the numbers, broke it down how, like, even through when there's Democratic presidents, Republicans polled, the number's always around 90% of people are proud of this country, proud to be Americans. And Democrats have always been around the same number. And it's not until recently, and like you said, Gen Z especially, where you get this 36% drop off and 24% of people saying that they're not proud at all, So what do you guys attribute that to? Is it, TikTok culture, always complaining? Is it, indoctrination through school?
All of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, technology has ramped up that, but I think it's just became popular to almost be anti-American.
Yeah.
And to put down this country, and especially from the left, because that's, he's doing that now, but you got to remember, they're changing it to now CNN, but the last 8 years, they are part of this too.
That was going to be my point. Like, they're the ones that have been.
Now they're pretending, oh my God, we're shocked.
They're the ones that have been telling everybody this is the worst country in the world.
Worst country in the world.
People like Joy Reid going on. I just saw a video of
Don Lemon.
Yeah, Don Lemon.
Yep.
I saw a video of Ricky Smiley going on a rant on his page, telling people, like, y'all need to we need to be afraid right now. Like, this is scary times. We're in danger. If you want to know what's going on in this country, if you want to get educated, you need to go on over to Joy Reid's channel and watch her videos. And
followed by, I'm going on tour, guys. Come join me.
But I'm just thinking, like, bro, any man that sits up there and says Joy Reid's got the knowledge for you, like, something is wrong. Something is off there.
And that's, I think, why, in a way, yes. Is it foolish behavior? Sure. But I can't blame them, because they're young and they're impressionable.
Yeah.
And they're only regurgitating what they've heard, and they think it's cool to say. You know what I mean? That's all it is. Right. And again, who is he I know he's polling younger, but where is he going to college campus? He's walking on the street. Yeah. Like, like how are they doing this poll?
They're probably sending out text messages. Like, I get those sometimes where it's like, participate in this poll, and then you can fill out the survey. I never do.
And it's almost like a predictable, like you're going to get a certain type of hatred because it's cool to do that.
Yeah.
I think it's you know, just the rhetoric, the planning. You see the difference. People who want control don't care how they get it,
Yeah.
and you see that with houses where parents are very unloving. I'll say they're looking to control things
Mm-hmm.
however they can, right? And so that's a very divided house. A house divided can't stand.
Yeah.
So
That's some more.
think about it, like parents will lie to their kids any way they can to get control until their kids grow up enough to be like, you know, what are you talking about? And then they don't trust them in anything. So it becomes even more divisive. They become teenagers and now they're not listening to you because you just lied to them your whole life
Mm-hmm.
because you just wanted control. And I think that's what a lot on the left were doing. Look at the rhetoric from the media that's controlled, like it's all there. Everybody's just lying for their own benefit. The media is lying for money, right? For
Right.
their own benefit. But they're not looking at what it does in the long run. People who take actual responsibility that's what love is. You take real responsibility. Real responsibility is loving because you're looking at the long run. When people hold the line, and why do you have pride in your household? Because you want things to go well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're holding the line in terms of, no, we're not going to allow this in order for me to love you, I have to be hard on you. Like, these are all the things we do in our house. When you love your kids and you're loving, a husband's loving to his wife, right? No, we're not going to do this. We're going to do this. It's not controlling. It is standing your ground.
Yeah,
That's
it's
different,
it's
right?
it's literally placing a standard there to live up to and say like this is how we honor our country. This is how we honor our household. This is how
Right.
we keep a standard. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why you see like I don't know if you guys have seen these stories of these people like a couple officers got killed at a ICE facility because these people went there like hiding in the bushes and open fire on officers, or like all of these protests where they're shooting at government buildings and stuff like that. Like that is a total just like disrespect and no honor for the country. The fact that these people are doing the job that the majority of the country voted for, the things that we wanted, the standard that we want to uphold. And then you have these
Yeah.
other people that just totally want to disrespect that and don't want to accept the fact that this is what the country wants. And
Yeah.
and you see them burning flags, you see them out there waving the flags of other countries and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think, like what you're saying, Jamie, if there's two different kinds of pride, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's the pride, like we say, the lion's pride, right? That's the pride of your father, the pride, like when a father is proud. Why are you proud to be an American? Because you're standing. But you can have the other pride where, if you're looking, kids can become prideful because they're disrespectful and they're unappreciative, right?
Yeah.
They become prideful, thinking they know everything,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to listen to anybody because they think they know. And that's what's happened in this country. They
Right.
think they know so much that now they're going and shooting. That's straight up pride.
Yep.
You're going and you're shooting up ICE because you think you know better. You know how many people in colleges or coming out of colleges are saying, you're not educated, you don't know. Yeah, this is what we're dealing with now. How many people are believing that if I go to college and I get a degree, I know more than you.
Yeah.
That's something that Charlie Kirk is really coming against. This, how we don't really learn anything in college.
Mm-hmm.
When you go, there's only certain things you can know, but you can, if you take it upon yourself to become educated, you're going to know more than what most people know coming out of college.
Right, because
there's no real pride there.
Yeah.
You're cheating. You know how many people were? I was watching this thing, how so many people are cheating with AI on their papers and on their tests.
Wow.
Because there's no pride. There's no actual pride, right?
Yeah.
There's do whatever I can to get by, and if I can do it, what's the problem? There's no problem with it. That's another kind of pride. And this is what we're dealing with in this country. When you have no morals, you're going to do whatever. You know, there's a on Disney. There's this new show, and of course, every show has to do with it's a woman or a girl who's the superhero now. Every show, right? Woman, girl, and in this new show, they're making it look like there's nothing wrong with. In there, she's actually went to college and she's cheating on her test and she's giving people answers because she's smart. She's going out, she's robbing because it's okay because they're rich and we're poor. It's all these things. They're making it look like it's okay. It's such a horrible show.
Wow.
And this is what we're dealing with in this country. It's this kind of rhetoric that you make what is horrible or bad good, and you make what is good, like having pride for your country in the correct way, bad. You make that evil. Where we get this Christian nationalism from? You know what I mean? That's what it is. We're making it seem like it's evil
Right.
to have pride for your country.
And part of it too is this, like, yes, everything you're saying is true, but I feel like with a lot of times what we're doing is we're talking about the symptoms and we're not talking about the cause. And we have to understand who are the people who are behind this rhetoric, because these kids they're young and they're only going to respond to their peer pressure. They think it's cool. A lot of them really don't even know why they're doing it. They're just doing it because it's part of their inner group. That's what they're doing. But we're not really coming against the studios, the executives. There's no punishment for them. So they're the ones that girl she didn't write that movie for herself. Someone wrote that.
Yeah.
Who are the writers behind that? Who's the studio behind that? That's, I think, what it is. The media took no responsibility on this. Is almost like a 15-year campaign to demonize America. And those kids, from the time they're, well, at least his age now, if you're indoctrinated for that long, you're pretty much, that's all you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that's a great point. Like we said, CNN for all them years was, they were right there with the rhetoric. And a lot of these news outlets, a lot of these, when you look at shows and movie propaganda and all these things that these children are being fed, who are the ones that are pushing these agendas? Why are they pushing them? What is the ultimate goal here? And we know what that is. We talk about that on here a lot. There's these elites that have these ideas that they want to push because they have an agenda at play. So yeah, all of that needs to be called out. But at the end of the day, it's up to us as the parents of these kids, or even just as the ones who see it, to shed light on it and try to show people what's happening so that it doesn't keep affecting the youth that way. So our kids won't be affected by it. So they see through the propaganda and all of that.
Yeah. And I think that's even deeper, is that it starts with the family.
Yeah.
The family, again, a house divided can't stand. It starts with the family. That's the root right there. The media can't do anything if the family is intact.
Yeah.
No matter what the media is saying, I know my kids ain't listening because they already heard from me, and they trust me because I've proven myself throughout the years, right?
Yeah.
So they're not even like considering they're gonna be like, Daddy, I heard this, and this, because they do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
What are they? Why are they even saying that? Like they're not even giving it room, but they want to know, why would you even do that?
Right.
Why would you even say these things?
Right.
So when we raise up strong families, when we are learning, when we are sharpening each other, as men, fathers, as iron sharpens iron, the wounds of a friend, these proverbs that we have. When we're challenging our friends or even just our neighbors in a loving way, it's important. It's important. Like, there's opportunities when we're dealing with people to be able. I've been having these opportunities to talk to people that are struggling, and when they are, I'm like, okay, here's what you can do, or here's what I've realized that to be true.
Yeah.
You look for those opportunities, and then Because when people are going their own way and they're proud and they think stuff works, they're not listening. But the moment things ain't working anymore, that's when they want to hear you. You know, that's when they want to listen. Are we gonna be around to be like, I told you so? Are we gonna lift them up, you know, and have mercy on them?
Two things I would say that I've noticed. I've noticed that, again, what you're saying is true, but I've noticed that a lot of times when, specifically with Christians, what they do is they create almost like a little cocoon, a little bubble. And as long as their kids are good, as long as their circle is good, then that's goal accomplished. They don't think of really going out and challenging people in a loving way. And really saying, okay, it's not so much going out to fight with people, but it's through your life and through being able to have conversation.
Right.
Now you're going to have to learn to take a little stick because people are going to want to attack you.
Yeah.
Because your life and the way you conduct your family is the entire opposite of what they know. So there's that element. But then there's another element too that I think a lot of people miss. Just like we were when we were younger, I was told vote Democrat because they're for black people and they're for poor people. Already that mindset is you're black, you're a victim, and you're poor, you're a victim. Stay here and these people will help you.
Right.
Because that's essentially what they're telling most people. Most people vote for programs, for welfare programs, subsidies. That's why they're voting for it. They don't really know the policies.
Yeah.
So I think when the people who are raised in that environment, like you guys, when you start to realize that you're a pawn in a game, those people actually turn out to be more of a guard, I would say, than the people who were raised in those perfect environments because they realized they were lied to.
Yeah.
And what happens is a lot of people who were raised in those environments where they come from the good home, they kind of create a little bubble almost. And the people who are like, wait a minute, this whole time you guys are telling me this and none of this is true, they become more, it's kind of like with the disciples. This is why Jesus didn't want the Pharisees because they're already contaminated with dogma, you know what I mean? But he took men who were essentially men, those men would be the plumbers and the carpenters and the fishermen. Those are the trade guys of today. You know what I mean? And I find that those people who are realizing when it clicks for them, they're like, what? Like you guys told me all your life you were told that by your dad. Vote this way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But something happens to people who, once they realize that, wait a minute, why am I doing this? There's something that happens within you and I think that's what's happening with a lot of younger people too, you know, that they're starting to realize like, this doesn't make sense. Like Jake was talking about that movie, it's not doing so great. But another part of it too was that they wrote in, she's a single parent home. People are already calling that out.
Yeah.
And it's young black people that are calling that out.
Right.
Here's the same narrative again. And I think we got to give people room there for them to be like, wait, something is wrong here. Like maybe a few years ago they wouldn't have, but they're seeing it more now. Where I think,
why? But again, why is that starting to change in culture? It's because people are starting to have these conversations. They're being exposed to new information.
But what I'm saying is, people like you guys,
right,
who were taught that vote blue no matter who. Yeah, it's people like that come along and they're like, yo, we used to do that, right? And here, this is the result of this. You know what I'm saying? The people like myself who come from the 2-parent home, the Christian. Like, I wouldn't have that experience because I was told that, but my dad changed it when I came in. My uncle, it wasn't my dad that told me that. It was my uncles and my cousins who told me that, you know?
Yeah, but I think it's a mixture of all those perspectives because even for us, like we had to get exposed to that through channels that weren't like us. It's just that we're able to bring it to people that can connect with how we grew up. You know what I mean?
But what I'm saying is the reason you connect so deep with it, because at one time, if someone said vote Republican, you would laugh at them too. But because you understood being told, just do it no matter what, you know where they are. Right. You know why they feel the way they do. So you could have a conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the core of it, though, what, like for us, I think what the factor was following after Christ. Like,
Yeah.
that's like seeking after the truth.
That's what
And-
even opened us up to even get new information.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing
And
that
I-
you want to break. There's certain cycles that you wanted to break for when you guys chose wives, your family, and saying okay. And I think once people start seeing that, like the end result is okay, fine, we won. Let's say Kamala Harris won.
Mm-hmm.
You're still in the hood,
Right.
You're still
Yeah.
You're still waiting on EBT cards.
Right.
You're still waiting for government subsidies.
Yeah.
Nothing didn't change. You know what I mean?
And it wouldn't.
You know.
Yeah. And even if you're out of the hood and you're making money now, that doesn't mean that everything's good for you. It doesn't mean that you've done it right. You know, because we have this like people like that's why I said it has to be seeking after the truth. It has to be seeking after Christ, because anything else is just going to swing the pendulum the other way. And now you're like, I'm not doing what I did before, but you're just doing something else. And like you said, James, like, yeah, you can be what they call a good house. You can be from a good house. It's not really good. And everything seems good, but now you're trying to keep what you have. And now there's fear there, and things can swing totally the other way the next generation.
Which I've called that out. I've said that too before, because listen, I've been challenged by some of my brothers in church. Like I said, really, when you think about it, part of the reasons why a lot of this stuff snuck, specifically with the schools, when a lot of this LGBTQ stuff snuck in, because we had nobody on guard.
Yeah.
A lot of us as Christians, that we would rather go to the Benny Hinn revival. We'd rather go to the Kenneth Copeland seminar. We'd rather go in general. You know,
Well, that's what the church is promoted.
That's what
the churches are telling you.
So don't go to. Don't sit on the board.
They don't sit there and tell people we need to go and infiltrate these government systems.
No.
They tell people, no, come to this thing that we're holding. We're going to do a prayer thing. We're going to do this, and that's going to.
Right.
Not everybody, because there are people. People doing
but I'm saying in general.
Yeah, in general. And
general.
the reason I'm pointing that out is because I remember a year ago, Patrick Bet-David said this. He's Iranian. There was a I don't know what part of California, but it was a push to introduce new literature that kind of promoted the LGBTQ lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
What did those Iranians do?
No, those were Armenians.
Armenians. I'm sorry, Armenians.
They went crazy.
They went down.
Yeah.
And
they protested.
They protested.
Yeah.
Guess what happened?
Yeah, they stopped it. Yeah.
Right. And I'm saying that pressure busts pipes, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we have gotten used to as Christians is quietly praying on the side, not taking action. Now, I don't mean go down there and burn anything. I'm just saying we're not visible. Just like Andrew Tate had a great point. He was like, you say you're Christian, but someone can desecrate Jesus. Someone can do anything to Jesus, and you're not going to do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But in certain countries, even in England, you can't do that to Muhammad. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not saying go out and be violent. I'm just saying that we have a predictable response. And even when it comes to our children, like going down to the school and speaking up.
Right.
You know?
I think that's changing too. I think it's changing. I see a lot more people.
But it's been a 15-year run.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Probably longer. Maybe 30 years.
Right.
Of a progressive, like.
I see what you're saying, but I'm saying like for the last, since social media really took off, that's when I feel like this thing got heavy. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I agree. But it starts out slow, and then it progressively builds.
Those made strides, and I think Obama had a lot to do with it too, because and I remember in the beginning he wasn't for gay marriage, right? Or he didn't say anything about it.
No, he said he was against it at first.
They all did.
Yeah,
I mean, there's clips of them.
Joe Biden, same thing.
Hillary all said that.
And he was like everybody's golden child. Like a lot of people were fooled by him. And, slipped it in there, and it just snowball effect after that.
Right.
I think we, like you guys are saying, we kind of retreat. Like we talked about this years ago. Like Christians make the retreats and we retreat.
Yeah.
We kind of retreat into each other.
To ourselves.
Yeah. And within groups.
Yeah.
Within groups.
Yeah.
We do that.
We're not dealing with anything. It reminds me of like this verse in 1 Peter where it talks about like, you're going to have to suffer and have no fear for the people who try to make you suffer, and don't be troubled about it. But then it speaks about like how we have to honor God in our hearts, and we have to keep him holy, right? But then it says always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for your hope, right? And have we done that? Like the way these things come forward is because nobody has made a defense for what we truly believe in. We're not. Everything has to do with arguments, because this is how we argue things in law. The law only, like, think about it. Love changed its meaning. Love is love. It changed its meaning because we did not argue it.
Yeah.
We did not stand on the grounds of what love is. So we let the meaning get changed, and we sat idly by.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
As Christians, we allowed it to happen.
Yeah.
Myself included. I remember not wanting to talk about this stuff. My dad did. He was brave in that way.
Yeah.
But I was, through this society and through my circle that I chose. Again, I'm taking responsibility here. I would say there were certain things we just didn't talk about.
Yeah.
And it is until after a while, and I was like, well, why?
Yeah.
Why can't I challenge, or why can't we have a conversation without being vindictive or being evil? And I think social media, the whole thing of social media was, how many friends can you get? So you don't want to upset. You now think you're very careful about how you say things or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, your social status.
And it trained people to kind of recoil and run away.
Even before social media, I think there was a pressure to like fit in socially, and there was certain topics that we were always taught like to avoid. Right. I mean, I remember elders used to always say like, you avoid race politics and religion. Yeah. Yep. And like, why do we avoid those things?
Right.
Why can't we have discussion or polite debates about these things, even if we don't agree? Like that just created this culture of people not being able to handle those conversations without getting emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where we learn, like, as believers, when it says love your neighbors, you're going to go out and try that, and it's not going to work well, because again, you're going to get emotional. You're going to get caught. Then you realize, oh, man. Then you feel ashamed, like, how did I get there? How did I get so mad? But it's not to shame you. It's to show you, okay, you need more strategy in yourself. What are you dealing with? What are you struggling with, right? So are you really loving people? Oh, what you thought was love isn't really what it is.
Yeah.
You don't know if they're loving. Do you think, real quick, do you think that, like, for some reason I'm thinking like Ned Flanders, Christians, like, there's like this perception of what Christians should be. You shouldn't be argumentative. You should, just be nice. You think that's part of the reason why, people looked at Christians like that? Like, I remember stories like James used to say, used to tell us about how when they used to go to church in Trinidad, and he would go and look for demons. You know what I mean? Like, that's him being curious. I don't know if he was joking around, but
no, like, I was 10 years old, man.
Really, there's demons in the woods. He went to go.
He's like, where are they at? With his flashlight.
So you think that is a reason, why people look at Christians, and it became like that's how you're supposed to be. You know what I mean?
I mean, here's what my take on it. I think our idea of love is this world's definition of love, which is, how are you?
Mm-hmm.
We're having dinner. Would you like to come?
Yeah.
We're having a gathering. It's more in the dressing up, the party kind of atmosphere. We're having a party. Would you like to come over? I think the love Jake is talking about is a love where you can sit down with somebody and tell them they're wrong, but in love.
Yeah.
And I think Christians' idea of love is, we're having a party, come over. It's Thanksgiving.
Right. We're so inviting. We're so nice. We're polite.
It's more.
Right.
It's more to do with manners,
right,
than it is when you say love. We don't think of love as being. When I say, well, Jamie, why do you believe what you believe?
Yeah.
Tell me.
Right.
We don't look at that as love.
Challenging
love. A challenging love, where we can. Love to us in this in this time doesn't mean that.
Right.
It means here's a pie. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right.
You know, come to my
Well,
church. You know,
it's also like everything else in America. It has to be quick. So when something doesn't work, you're like, oh, that didn't work. Then you get offended, and then you're like, well, I'm not going to do that again because somebody
Right.
snapped on you, or like. So your love is enduring. So you're not loving people if you quit. If
Right.
you stop talking.
But I'm saying we don't know that love. That's I'm saying that.
Well, that's I think that's programming.
Yeah,
because
yeah. We're afraid of that.
We've been given this concept, like even when you hear people talk about Christians, even to this day, and this goes to Moan's point as well, because I do agree with you, Moan. I think like there has been, a couple generations of Christians being portrayed a certain way on purpose to basically disarm them and make them seem very goofy and docile or whatever.
Well,
and
to become defensive, right? And now you're proving yourself.
Or to just make Christians afraid to even say they're Christian in public because you don't want to be viewed as a Ned Flanders. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But again, aren't you proving yourself now? Like you're trying to.
Yeah, I'm not one of those Christians. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
But the point I was getting to was I think that now I lost it. What were we talking? You were saying what were you just saying?
I was saying we were trained to love.
Right. Yeah. So the idea of love has been programmed in a way where we only see it as, you hear people talk about
physical gesture.
Well, Jesus says, don't judge and turn the other cheek. And, like they only want to point out that side of Christianity where it's like, you have to be very tolerant and accepting and very like, very, like that idea of love where it's just like let people do whatever they want and just be very accommodating. And there is that they never portray the side of love that's like a father's love where it's like disciplinary, where it's like I have to hold you to a standard. I have to stand my ground. I have to tell you that you're wrong right now.
I'm gonna attempt to give an example of what I mean by that. It's like, say you have a best friend and you love him. You've known him for a long time.
Right.
You love him. You could be, I love this dude. But he's cheating on his wife.
Yeah.
But you don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Because he's your friend.
Right.
Do you love him?
You do. I think you don't.
You don't love him.
No.
Yeah.
Because if you loved him,
you
would sit him down and say, listen, what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
Now, some people will be like, well, that's really not my business because she cheated on him back when they were. And so what you do is you come up with scenarios of why you shouldn't tell him because she did something to him that he told you, and you're like, well, that could be this, and you don't want to essentially lose him as a friend. Well, do you really love him?
Yeah.
I don't think you do.
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm talking about. It's you love him in the way that you've been taught
to love.
To love.
Bros before.
But
right.
I think
that's your love, I'm saying.
Yeah. I agree with
that's
you.
That's how
100%.
Christians love.
Yeah. That's how
I think.
Go ahead.
I think it's funny because it reminds me of, I was talking to my mom about this. Reminds me of Nehemiah in the Bible where they were coming back into the land from bondage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you're trying to recapture what you left, what was taken away from you, right?
Yeah.
And it was taken away from you because you weren't responsible with it. And even that, so like, think about it. If you don't love in the right way, somebody else is going to take it and twist it. And you now, what you weren't responsible with, somebody else is going to take and pervert, right?
It's exactly what we're talking about with the school system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So you know what they called those people?
What?
When they went back in the land and they wanted to keep Nehemiah, they called them Arabs.
Mm.
And Arabs, and that word means mixture, right? So you think about it, and I'm not coming against Arabs.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that word means mixture in the Hebrew, and it's connected to having a mixture inside of yourself like that, right?
Yeah.
You pervert things because you're like, well, I'm loving, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. You can't tell me what to do. But you know what you don't have? You don't have a covenant. You don't have a covenant. And when there's no promise, you really don't have any say to the land, right? Those Arabs didn't have a say, didn't really have they didn't have a covenant with God. So they couldn't, they had no justification.
Right.
Right? Well, this is what I mean. So many people are speaking from adultery. So many people are speaking like y'all just said it. Are you gonna tell your husband? Tell your husband. I mean, tell your friend that he's being an adulterer, right? That he's wrong, because Jesus said we live in an adulterous generation. Well, what does that mean? We live in a mixed. There's a lot of mixture that's come in and perverted things, and now you're living outside of your covenant. When we honor. Who was the one who initiated the covenant for us?
Jesus.
Jesus, through his love. So he defines love for us. So as we then go and honor him, and we go back to him, and we recapture what that is through humbling ourselves to him, like a wife to her husband, right? We come back into communion with him. We come back into unity with him. We come back into relationship. We come back into covenant with him. Do this in remembrance of me. And then we start to establish ourselves back under him, right?
Right.
In his household. But so many people are like, yeah, I'm a Christian. And I just saw this other day. I'm a Christian, but yeah, I do horoscopes. Yeah, I do tarot cards. There's nothing wrong with that. I still believe that Jesus is my Lord and Savior. So how can you know you're an adulterer in that sense?
Right.
So what I'm saying is you're mixed up.
Yeah.
Right.
You have mixture in there.
Trying to now you're trying to justify yourself, saying I deserve heaven. Not even heaven. I deserve the blessings of God. No, you don't. You're in a curse. You're in a curse because you don't accept what God you want it on your own terms. Just like a wife wanting marriage on her own terms. I want to be able to do whatever I want. I want to be able to sleep with whoever I want. That's not a covenant.
How about I still want to be an independent, modern woman, but have a husband. I still want to be able to, I don't want to be submitted to anyone, but I want to be taken care of. I want a life partner. So, this debate that you hear all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at like Nehemiah, Ezra, they had to learn the word again. They had to go back. That's what that whole thing is, building the wall. Bringing separation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Building a wall, bringing separation, making things separated again, or you could say holy again, and going back to the law, the words of God that made them separate, going after it again, trusting in it again, and living by it again. See, now you're coming back into covenant with God. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so many people, they want to, Jesus is my friend. Jesus is my homeboy. Like, This is where we're coming out of that type of mentality, And with that, it's a mixture. I can have Jesus and I can have Hare Krishna.
Right.
I can have Jesus. You know how many people call themselves Christians, but they're going and listening to these new age self-help guys?
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Or they're doing yoga, or they're doing, like you said, tarot readings. They got crystals, all that stuff. Yeah.
And then they're wondering why, like, you're trying to justify yourself, but you're mixed up. You're mixed up. You don't have a covenant, so you have no justification. But the moment you start seeking after God, you're coming back into covenant with God, and now He's gonna bless your life. Right? Think about it. Just like saying we're gonna live by, I'm not gonna cheat on my wife. I'm gonna honor my wife, and my wife should honor me and listen to me, because that's the way it goes in a marriage. Once you start coming into these ideas, things start working.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold my kids accountable
because you're bringing order.
Yeah.
And when you bring order into anything, you start realizing how things start to fall in place and start to expand. The order tends to grow from there. Like we were talking about, you were just saying, like, too many Christians are worried about their little bubble. But the idea is to order your home so that that can then extend outward,
Right.
you know, and then it's about, because even trying to like have those conversations with, say, your neighbors or people around you, you have to have a relationship first.
Right.
So until you can't spend the time to, there's no, you can't allocate the resources to establish those relationships if your house is messed up.
Right.
So once you have that in order, then now you have the freedom and the mind, the mentality and the mind space to establish other relationships outside of there and cultivate those things, you know, from the standard and that same order that you've set up in your home.
Right. And I think we were trapped. I mean, I know I was, by the idea of church and modern church and a community within church, which itself is not bad, but you know, Jesus said, "Go out and be fishers of men."
Yeah.
Well, we just take the modern idea of church now, the concept of like the mega church and we're family, we're here. But technically, really, you're supposed to be going out and bringing and reaching people. Not, you know, so I think that I was just challenged by this one of the brothers as far as like witnessing, right? And for a long time, it's like the idea is going people's house to house knocking.
Yeah.
And that was my concept of it. That's what my parents did or whatever it is. But witnessing like people on your job, watching their lifestyle, or even like, you know, people you interact with, your people who hire you, you know, why is that? You're like, well, this is I don't want to do it here because I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah.
There's a fear that we have where it's like, only do it here.
Right.
Only do it there. You know what I mean? Like, don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But even,
go ahead, Jake.
I was going to say, like, a witness is, again, like, you're being a light in terms of how you live your life. Like,
that's what I was going with this.
Yeah. If you're attempting to be like, I gotta be a light to these people, now you know it's kind of backwards. But if you're saying, all right, if you're saying I can't do that because it's gonna hurt my relationship with them, and that's gonna hurt their relationship with God. Who else do they have in their life? So I'm gonna go back to God. How should I deal with this situation, God? These are the things I'm struggling with this person that I know that you want me to speak to, or even just be a light to, and how do I even engage in that? Like, sometimes we gotta just humble ourselves to the point where, all right, how do I interact with these people? What do you need me to do? And sometimes you just shut your mouth for a while. You know, you don't say anything.
That's what I was gonna just say, because sometimes that even intrigues people to open up to you in a way. Like, I know that from hanging out with dudes from soccer, like all kinds of people where it's like we're in different environments and I'm watching them interact. I'm watching them like complain about their wives, complain about, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, and we're just after the game sitting around talking, right? And then they notice that I'm never joining in with that, right? So then it becomes well, tell me about like why don't you have like what? And then I'm able to tell them like, well, this is what we believe, and this is how we set up our home, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's why I was going with this. I didn't explain it enough. I was saying that the idea of being a witness, we look at it as, or we've been taught to look at it as like, come on, brother.
Have you heard about Jesus?
Have you heard about him?
Right.
We do it the Ray Camford way, where it's like, have you sinned? Have you smacked somebody? Have you stole? Have you lied?
You could go to hell. Don't you want to go to heaven?
And so we don't think of like, all right, just like you said, like just by your example of like, they're talking about something. Now, one of the things a lot of Christians do is like, this is not for me. I'm out of here. Or no one's saying stay and join in, but we're saying somebody, one person in that group, like, dang, all of us are sitting here complaining about our wives, talking about our jobs, and this brother here is why?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what we will do technically is we'll be like, they're cussing, they're smoking, I'm out of here. I'm running away from here.
Right.
You know? Which I'm not saying stick around and hang out, but I'm just saying in that the idea of them, one of them at least recognizing that you don't complain. Why is it that you don't complain?
Yeah.
And they want to know, and the curiosity. And I think that sometimes the world is watching us and we don't even know because we want to put on a show for them too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. All right, I want to move on, guys. We spent a lot of time on that topic. We got to get on to the next thing.
Simone lost 4 pounds just by this conversation here.
So we talked about we started off talking about how the Democrats, it's clear that they hate America, and America, and then we talked about basically what we put our trust in. And I think there is also this culture of pride in the country. But like Jake was saying, you can have that opposite, that negative version of pride. And we see that with the cult of MAGA, the cult of Donald Trump in a lot of ways. And there's a lot of things that have been happening in this administration that we have already spoken about that we don't agree with. And, the way they've handled certain things. And there's something that has pretty much been trending all day for hours and hours and hours. I'm going to refresh X again and see if it's at the top of the list. It was number 1. Okay, it's number 2 right now. It's been number 1 all day. And let me just pull it up. Do you guys see what that is? Number 2 on the trending list on X. Can you guys see that?
I cannot see it.
I can't see it.
You can't see it? Let me zoom in.
No. What?
Epstein.
You guys see that? Moan squinting. Number 2.
Colossal Moa.
Number 2, bro.
Oh, Epstein.
Number 2. Oh, the Epstein. Oh yeah, I've been seeing that.
So that Epstein has been trending over 2 million posts on X about Epstein. I don't know if you guys are aware of the DOJ releasing that memo the other night.
Nothing to see here.
Which
Epstein killed himself, and
yeah, I'll pull it up right here and read it for everybody. So this is a memo, and keep in mind this memo is signed by no one, showing that I don't think anyone wants to take credit for it in a sense, but they're just kind of putting it out there. They didn't sign this. It says, as a part of our commitment to transparency, the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation has conducted an exhaustive review of the investigative holdings related to Jeffrey Epstein. To ensure the review was thorough, the FBI conducted digital searches of its databases, hard drives, and network drives, as well as physical searches, blah, 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 300 gigabytes. The files related to Epstein include a large volume of images and videos, blah, blah, blah. Through the review, we found no basis to revisit the disclosure of these materials and will not permit the release of child, P. This systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. No incriminating client list. There was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. So they released a statement saying basically from no one. No one signed it. Basically, after even months of them saying we got the files on our desk, we're looking at them. I think I got a video of Pam Bondi
may be releasing
right
the
here.
list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files.
Blah, blah, blah. So this was back in February. It's sitting on my desk right now. They've been teasing this. They did the phase 1 rollout where they had those influencers. We showed how much of a debacle that was months ago, where they released a bunch of files that everyone already had already. But yeah, it seems like there is... They are really trying to gaslight everybody and make us think that there's nothing to see here.
Well, they gaslight everybody thinking there's something to see here.
Right.
And now they're gaslighting to there's nothing to see
Well, it was
here.
vote for me because you'll definitely get everything.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we're being told that nothing, that interview that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino did where they looked like two hostages.
Yep.
We
looked into it.
Yeah, he
and there was
definitely
nothing.
killed
Don't you
himself.
think if I saw it, I would do something?
Right.
Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah. So people don't know what to make of this. This is really throwing people for a loop because it's we've been told for so long by these same individuals that, this needs to be looked into. We know that there's no way. I mean, who was the guy, Alex Acosta, that was the attorney general at the time. Yep. He testified in front of Congress saying that he was told when Jeffrey Epstein got that sweetheart deal after he was found guilty of having relationships with minors, and they convicted him and gave him that sweetheart deal where
he could go home.
He could basically leave the jail anytime he wanted. They mounted a TV on the wall for him. The cell was never locked. Like, it was the worst kind of. He wasn't even in prison. He was in like some office building somewhere, and they gave him that deal because Alex Acosta testified in front of Congress saying that he was told that this guy was an asset, and that's why he gave him that deal. He said this.
An asset to who?
Exactly. But now they're telling us, there's nothing to see here. Don't even talk about it.
I think what we're discovering is because I was tricked too. I thought Cash Patel and what's the other guy?
Dan Bongino
was going to get.
Because they've been talking about it.
They lied. That's just what it is. Let's call it what it is. They lied. They were told they got the position they wanted, and they were told end this right now.
Yeah.
Bongino talked so tough on his radio show, his syndicated show.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but principalities and powers in high places.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
You think they really went in like thinking that
no.
they were gonna?
I don't think so.
I think they did go in.
They were told not
I
to
think
go
they
any
went
further.
in with the intentions, because there's no way, the way they were talking before they were appointed. This is why everybody was pushing for them to get these appointments, because the way they were talking and their backgrounds and everything. I think that once they got in there and they were showed how connected this is to everything and who's involved, it was like, oh, we can't because
not just them can't, but I think once they got the position that they have to follow orders too. They can't just do what they want,
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think
or it could be dangerous for their family and their lives.
Could be dangerous for the global economy.
Right.
The type of people that are implicated, because we already know Prince Andrews is one of the people.
Right.
So imagine who else from other, elite high up positions, CEOs of companies, like this could tank the stock market.
Right.
There's so many things that they were probably exposed to that they're like, and who even the darker side of things where, we've heard about what was on Anthony Weiner's hard drive, right? So imagine they saw some of that information and was like, oh my God, this would
destroy politics.
Yes, and people, and it might cause extreme chaos. But
that's what they promised.
Exactly.
They said no one asked them for that. They said that's what they were going to do.
Yep.
The only people who I feel is like the Snowden and what's the other guy name again? Julian Assange.
Those guys was about it.
Those are the only people who I feel like they told the truth.
Yeah.
They told the truth. They told the truth. And I feel like most of these people, it's been proven now, once they get the position, it's not so much, oh my God, this will derail everything. Bro, they are not going to, this is a career move for them. That's how I feel.
It could be, but I honestly think
just the way he answered, just the way he looks. Jill, don't you think that if I saw it, I would look at you were talking this game?
Yeah, you were.
But
that's why he's saying, like, don't you think if there was something there, I would be the one to release it? No, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Let me show this. Go ahead, Jake.
I was just gonna say, I mean, I think you were kind of touching on it, Jamie. It could go a lot deeper than we think and realize, and maybe they don't want to. It's too much to be able to.
Maybe they don't think people can handle how dark it really is. Maybe they think that
that's part of it, or they're being told not to do it.
Well, that too. But I think that
you have this. You think about that. You have something that your heads of state and leaders are involved in.
Yeah,
and you don't think that we need to clean house.
I would be 100% on board with
you're thinking, hey, you know what? It's better to keep this crappy system than unfold this because it's too much.
Some people do believe that.
But I will say that, like so many things, when sin abounds, complications abound.
Yeah.
And things can become so intertwined. It's kind of like just us. Like when sin abounds in our lives, man, we become so complicated and convoluted in our lives, and things become so intertwined within ourselves that it takes time to bring those separations, and and a lot of times, like even with God, like we want justice when we see it should be done, and God knows better because he knows how much, well, if I do that, this will happen. If I do that, and we're not looking at everything. He doesn't tell us all that stuff.
But I think that one of the things that this does is it definitely shows us that, you're not going to be able to vote yourself into righteousness or whatever, or like justice, whatever we thought what was going to happen, like there is definitely something in place here that is strong, that is more powerful.
There's
than
a power system.
Yeah.
I think here's the power system. It's beyond just America. It's a global system. Mm-hmm. It's an elite global system that's beyond just the justice from the American judicial amendments.
There's things that supersede that.
And this is bigger than that.
Yep.
And I think that these guys talked a good game.
Yeah.
But once they got into position and they realized we can't go any further,
right.
or they're told,
or the people that have more power than them told them, like, listen, I know you think you have this position, but no.
Right.
Like,
or maybe it is, again, it's more complicated than you would think, and you can't, it's going to take more time to dismantle things.
But they could say that.
They could say that.
They didn't say that.
They're
they
saying
said,
there's nothing
here.
There's nothing to see here. It's over. Don't even talk. And I want to continue to go down this trail before we just continue on this one point, because there's so much more to it. I want to show, they released footage that was supposed to show how he definitely killed himself. Mm-hmm. It was like 11 hours of footage of the doorway to his cell, right? But people were pointing out how, check this out. So if you watch the footage and you look at the time on the bottom left there, at 11:58, right? Let's go back here. 11:58, right? And then you go up 2 seconds, the camera shot drops and you lose a whole minute.
Mm-hmm. Let's see it.
You saw that?
Yep.
You lose a whole minute. And the camera shifts.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are like, why? If you're saying you're releasing a whole unedited version of 11 hours of footage, you see a whole minute's gone. Mm-hmm. And, and then on top of that, people were pointing out, like, this was the picture of the door that they showed us after he allegedly killed himself to his cell. So what is this?
Mm-hmm. That's not the same door.
That's not the same.
That's a door with a half break in it. That's not a slab door.
Right.
That's a slab door. The gray one is a slab door.
Right.
That's not a slab door.
I mean, the walls aren't even
the
same.
wall's not even the same. Mm-hmm. There's a phone next to this one. No phone. There's a crease in the wall here. You see?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's gray on it's
then there's a gray, like this isn't even the same.
The angle is the wall has an angle to it.
There's just a lot of weird stuff going on with it. I want to show Mo was saying Dan Bongino talking really tough. This was him on Timcast a while ago talking about the Epstein case.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but I know who they are. It says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure that's the person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why his blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know, but this person, who's a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore
he doesn't
Epstein
know.
was
He doesn't know.
unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know? 100%.
Yeah. That's him talking about Epstein being an asset. Now let's listen to the press secretary being questioned about this.
Caroline. Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, This systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat.
Yeah, then they try to deflect to something else. Yeah, so that's the story. That when she said that, it's on my desk right now, she was referring to the entire file.
Not that she was going to reveal it.
Not that she was going to reveal it at all. Let's watch this clip of... go ahead, Mo.
Has Trump said anything about this?
I'm going to get to that. Watch it, because it's very... Bro, it's so strange. Like, it's so strange the way they're moving on this right now. Check this out. This is Sagar on Tucker Carlson's show.
The lie at this point is not even part of trying to convince any of this is true.
Yes.
The lie is a signal to everybody else involved in the scheme that to the ultimate ends, the United States government will go to protect all of you.
Yes.
And that's the question. For
Man,
what
is that smart.
purpose?
Can you say that again? Okay,
Yes.
so I'm sorry, it's a signal.
The lie is not for you and me. The lie is for those implicated to say, no matter what, we will protect you. And then we have to start asking the question, why? As in, what is the purpose of this entire thing?
So what he's alluding to is like, the reason why you cover it up like this is to show the people
who are really
in power that, no, we got your back.
So do you think it's a power play with the U.S. to try to gain leverage somehow?
I think I honestly think that they realized that this is something that they can expose. Like, they thought that they would be able to. I honestly think they thought they would be able to. And then when they got in there and they realized how deep that really goes, and how deep that rabbit hole goes, and who it implicates, and the powers that be that really run things, they realized, oh, we can't. And then they had to totally gaslight everybody on the fact that they were talking, even when they first got it off. Remember, the first things they were saying when Trump got inaugurated was, Epstein client list is coming. Boom, boom. We're going to do phase 1 rollout. All the files are on my desk. Remember, she did a whole memo talking about how the FBI owed her 1,000 videos. Remember?
Yeah.
And all of that stuff was going to be going through, like
JFK, Martin Luther King.
Yeah. And now it's just a complete gaslighting of it. I was going to show this. I want to get to what Moan was saying, because he said what was Trump's reaction. Check this out. So they're in a meeting, and one of the people from the press bring this up in front of Trump. Now check this out.
Yeah, sure. If I
could I just interrupt for a second?
So let me start out first. So he brings up the question was bringing up the fact that Alex Acosta mentioned that Jeffrey Epstein was an asset, and that's why he got the sweetheart deal. Why was that? Are you saying that there was no other people implicated? There's no third parties, and then also asked about the footage missing from the video that we just watched. So that's what he asked, and then she's about to answer, and then Trump says, "Well, can I just jump in?"
Yeah, sure. If I
could I just interrupt for a second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
Sure.
So,
Why?
What is that?
Question that.
Like, y'all are the ones that were bringing up Epstein and saying that we're going to release it and all of this. I remember Elon Musk was on Tucker Carlson saying that these elites are scared because if Trump gets elected, he's going to release the Epstein files. Like he was on Joe Rogan saying that,
and Joe, I will erase him.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Like, so now to act like, oh, you're really going to ask about that? Does anybody care about Epstein? Like this, we've been talking about this guy for years, that creep. Yeah, we want to know why the heck this guy was, hold on, how is he being incriminated for, sex trafficking all of these minors to an island where we know Prince Andrew was, and we know that all these people are on the flight logs. We know all these people have been there. We know that Ghislaine Maxwell is in prison right now for being accomplice to that, but you're saying that no one else is implicated?
Right.
There's no third parties? Now all of a sudden there's nothing else to see here?
And no one asked him. No one asked him to do that. He ran on that platform that he was going to bring truth and justice back. He said that. No one said, hey, give me the files.
Right.
He's like, I'm going to do this.
Right. Yeah, so that reaction is very weird. Very weird. But it makes you wonder, who are they protecting? Who are they protecting? And when you understand who Ghislaine Maxwell was, who her father was, and who he worked for, it makes it very strange.
Right.
Yeah. How did Jeffrey Epstein attain his wealth? How did he get into the position he was in? This guy, his story is so strange. It's like,
very strange.
It's a guy that really was not special in any way. Like, but then all of a sudden he becomes this hedge fund manager for these elite, powerful people when he never had any background in that. He was like some low-level math teacher.
That wasn't even good.
It wasn't even a good math teacher. And then all of a sudden he's running these hedge funds for these people. And then the guy who we talked about on here from Abercrombie and Fitch, who is now, isn't he in trouble for
soliciting mail, hiring
his the models, the male models, and sexually abusing them, right? He's the one that gave Jeffrey Epstein the house in New York, and also most of his money.
Right.
Like he gave him access to all of his finances, and he's the one that also advocated for Trump to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. So it's this whole weird, this weird story that how do we make sense of this now that y'all are trying to tell us that there's nothing to see here?
Yeah.
Any thoughts, guys?
I'm just feeling like they're trying to divert us. You want to dangle that carrot, and then when you reach for the carrot, now it's oh, don't worry about the carrot.
But is it? I'm just thinking a little outside of maybe they didn't know how deep this stuff went, and is that the most important thing that we know about Jeffrey Epstein? Should we know? Yeah, probably. But can we be thrown off and demanding to know something that maybe we don't need to know? Maybe even in terms of is that the most important thing for this country? Can it be a divisive thing where what are we looking to? Are we gonna focus too much on the wrong things? We don't have to know everything. Is it cool to know? Yeah.
But we know something is fishy. And that's why I think people are a little upset.
Yeah, but again, but that doesn't change how we should be putting our trust in God. And sometimes it even can challenge us to, are you going to trust me in this area too? Where things aren't coming, because we can't really do anything. We could talk about it, but we can't really do anything about it. So I'm just saying, could we get too off track to where now we're fighting over this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm bringing this up as a way to show exactly what you're saying, that we cannot think that we have to be aware that our government is not what it seems.
Yeah.
That our institutions are not run how they present themselves to be ran. That the people in these positions are not an authority like we think they are. There's something else going on here, and we have
Well,
to.
they are.
We have,
I think like God allows things to be put in place, authorities to be put in place to challenge us a lot of times, like for the time, like, and for us to take the opportunity that he's putting before us. With Biden, it was a situation, right? Like with Trump, it's another one.
yeah.
What is God saying in this time? What is he trying to speak to us about? When people think God speaks like we speak, no, he speaks differently than we speak. And we have to be paying attention. What is he trying to say to us? So for me, it's like, all right, should we get too caught up in that? Or should we be trusting in God more? Because whoever's going to be in office, they're all going to be doing stuff, like that we're not going to agree with, that doesn't make sense. Sometimes we don't know what's going on. We don't know the play, right? We don't know everything. Trump is weird like that too sometimes, where he says one thing, but he's just trying to get a response, and then later on comes back, oh, that's what he meant. Or he could just be like he was with the whole shot thing, where he's just totally off and totally wrong. What are you doing, Trump? You know what I mean? I don't know, but I'm saying that he is not our end all to be all.
Exactly, and that's my point. That's my point. That's my point. Is that people, like I said, I started this by saying the pride of the MAGA cult. You know what I mean?
Right.
That believes that Trump is this savior that's going to do everything right. That's going to, bring us back from the brink. I mean, don't get me wrong. Much rather have him in there than Kamala Harris. But
yeah, absolutely.
We have to call out.
Yeah,
we have to call out inconsistencies because listen, whatever it is, I knew this. If this was the Democrats doing this, the right would be calling this out.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. So we have to do it. If we're gonna stay down the middle, we have to do it too.
But the funny thing is, there is way more people on the right calling this out.
Well, because they believed it too, like I did.
But what I'm saying is, like, you see more consistency in thought with that in that frame of mind, where it's like when Trump is doing
actually
something,
seeking justice,
right? Yes. And it's not just about like we talk about the MAGA cult, but it's not. The left cult is different, where it's like we cannot criticize at all.
But what I'm saying is, you're right. It's different. But this playbook is interchangeable with left and right.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're doing the same thing here. Now, when Jake said what we're going to learn, I think we would learn a lot if we found out how these power plays move.
Yeah.
But it would be if we found out that elite leaders, bankers, hedge fund managers, movie studios, political leaders, people in high places were participating in this kind of behavior, we would have to restructure everything.
Right.
It would mean a restructuring of everything.
And it would force all of that out into the light so that we can remove it from government and then get the right people in power that aren't selling us out in these ways, that aren't compromised in these ways. Like you have to, we do have to expose these things.
And we would have to.
Yeah, but it's not in our time. That's my, because when you say, when I mean, we're going to have to learn, I mean from God. Like, it's not like anybody can learn and see that. I'm saying there's a deeper thing. What is God trying to teach us? The wisdom that only God can teach us from these things where we're struggling in this. Like, okay, what is going on? Why is these things happening? God is learning or teaching us a certain type of discipline, where it's not obvious to us. It's not out there. It's not all plain. But yet, what is happening? What is the enemy doing? But also, what are you doing, God?
Or not to put our faith in men.
Yeah.
Putting our faith in Trump.
Yeah.
Trump Trump, people like Trump, they're not our savior.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we can't put our faith in, like, Trump's going to bring justice. He's going to turn America back to...
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yep.
No.
Yeah. Like the what was the movement? I can't even remember it now. It was so ridiculous. Oh, the Q movement.
Yeah. QAnon?
Yeah, QAnon, where they were, Trump's gonna do this and he's locking up Hillary Clinton and Oprah Winfrey's wearing an ankle bracelet and
3D chess right now.
4D. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understand what you're saying too, Jake. We can't get too caught up in this. It's just about bringing it up, exposing it, and then remembering that this is why we don't worship men. This is why we don't put men up as our savior. This is why we don't put our trust in man. But I just want,
this is also why we have to dig deeper with God. When we're in confusion, when we're like, I don't understand, why would he do that? Why would these things? We have to go deeper with God, because the answer is not going to be with them.
Yeah,
it's going to be with him. That's just that caveat. Yeah, we can't trust men, but we got to go deeper in trusting God.
Yeah.
No.
All right, let me show this clip of Ben Shapiro telling us why we need to just listen to the DOJ. He's all of a sudden he is 100% on board with what they just said.
We now have the answers. And the problem is this. People who never hedged their bets, people who never at any point suggested to you that they don't have data to back up the speculation, that the speculation was in and of itself the conclusion that if you speculate without evidence, that amounts to an actual conclusion to an investigation, they're going to be very upset today, because it turns out that the DOJ and the FBI have concluded that Epstein didn't have a client list and died by suicide, according to a memo detailing the findings obtained by Axios. Now again, does this put to bed all inquiries? Of course not. People can continue to speculate as much as they want. And I think there's still open questions here regarding how did Epstein make his money? Right, that's a very serious open question. The speculation
That's the only question? How he made his money?
But the DOJ and the FBI, again, run by people like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are telling you, I'm not telling you, they're telling you, people who are members of the Trump administration, people you elected and put into these positions to get you the truth on this matter, are telling you that he didn't, in fact, he was not murdered, he did not keep a client list, and he did not blackmail powerful figures.
End of story.
End of story, guys.
All right.
They're telling you
Back to black.
So you need to need to believe it.
Time to read Cardi B lyrics.
Talk about how
this is destroying America. Check this out. That WAP is hot.
Right.
That WAP.
No, I just thought that was funny because Ben Shapiro was he's all on board with this.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because he knows where that leads back
to. He knows
to.
what it's been led to. Now let me show Vinny's.
He's always been that though. He's always been the let's be reasonable here.
Yeah.
Type of person. You know what I mean? Like it just doesn't surprise me coming from him.
Let me show you Vinny's reaction on Valuetainment, because him and Adam were kind of going back and forth about it.
Are built on pedophilia and blackmailing the most powerful
What do you mean we are built? Define that. Do you mean our entire country, our entire government, our entire FBI, CIA?
I'm saying this. Whoever,
or this is one little operation that they don't want to expose.
Whoever he was working for, Epstein, Mossad, CIA, everything. Apparently, the most powerful people on the world were flying to an island and having sex with underage kids because she said it. There's tens of thousands of hours of them doing it. If we're built on that and the most powerful people that are running the show are in charge, the guy's telling Cash Patel, the thing that you just read, shut up. Shut up about it. Hold on, you know who I am. He knows who I am. I want accountability for everybody. If it's Trump, if it's Bill Gates, if it's Bill Clinton, I don't give a shit if it's the president of anything. Expose them because, Adam, the truth has to come out.
Okay, so I only have one question for you, my dear friend. I agree with you. But at what price? Take a deep breath. But hold on, hear me out. At what price?
At any price, Adam.
So you're saying to expose whatever happened on Epstein Island, you're willing to do whatever this looks like.
Yes.
Tear down the government, expose all the secrets, put America basically in harm's way just to find out what's Epstein.
What do you mean, Adam?
Because these are the most powerful people in the world apparently on this island.
Adam, so let the truth be told or the heavens fall. I don't care. Yeah, Adam, and that's who Vincent O'Shana is. I am 100% accountability. And I don't give a Adam, if that's what we were built on.
At what price?
I don't give a
tearing
shit.
down America?
Guess what the price is, Adam? God.
So you want to rule a city of ashes?
I don't give a shit if it's built on pedophilia and raping kids. Yes, because
you're being emotional.
No, I'm not. I'm being
real.
real.
You have to understand the whole concept of do you want to cut your nose off to spite your face? There might be an issue, but you want to cut your whole nose off and ruin your entire face because you care that much about this entire issue.
If the machine is running right now because pedophiles are running the show and they're telling him shut the hell up because we're all pedophiles, knock it down. And my last thing, Pat, what bothered me about what he said is we're not going to re-victimize the girls and the victims.
This is Cash?
Cash. Guess what? Nobody wants to see any girl. I don't want to see any kids, male, boy, underage. Blur them out. But who's the guy that's touching them? Who's the guy that's molesting them and raping them? This is a horrible argument. It's
all right, yeah. So there you go. What do you guys think of Vinny's stance on that? That like it.
I agree with him.
Like it all needs to
now.
be exposed. If
Yeah.
it's the truth, it's the truth.
Yeah.
I don't agree. I don't agree.
So you don't think the truth needs to come
I think
out?
so. If you're,
Go ahead, Mo.
I'm sorry.
I didn't say anything. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. If that's what they're doing, I feel like that needs to be exposed. That's demonic, man. And I get your point before is like it's in God's time. Like maybe this is showing us, God is showing us that you shouldn't put your faith in the person that people idolize. The MAGA, the guy in front of the MAGA movement.
Yeah. I mean, I saw this play. I saw this play with Q, with the whole Q movement. This was what they were going for, and it drove people crazy.
It did. It did. It made a lot of people crazy.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, for me, I'm like, okay, you can't go like, yes, you do want justice, but there's God also said, "Vengeance is mine," says the Lord. Like, so. Yeah, I think we pray. I think.
But how do we know this is not God's vengeance? How do we know that God isn't trying to expose? How do we know that this isn't God trying? No, I'm saying how do we know that in an appointed time God isn't allowing this type of backfiring, if you will, on what a lot of people thought was justice and true order?
Right.
How do we know that God isn't exposing that? And through maybe the file won't be exposed, but he's exposing a system where people think that this is going to be peace if we vote this way.
I think God is lifting the veil and showing the man behind the curtain in a lot of senses of like what we thought this country was, what we thought our government was. Like, yeah, we still have pride in what this country was designed to be and what it could be, but what it's become over like the last 100 years, I'd say. I think God is lifting that veil because, like, if we do have all these questions, like starting from JFK, starting from like when the JFK assassination happened in this country and they lied to everybody and it was almost obvious about it, and even the moon landing stuff and certain things that we've seen happen over the years that now it's like, okay, we are starting to see that things are not what they seem to be or what they've been made out to be in this country. Yeah. And I think that this is just another piece of that puzzle. It's a huge piece of that puzzle. Right. And I think that it being exposed that they don't want to tell us what exactly happened, because if that is true, let's go to the deepest conspiratorial side of this Epstein thing that people have brought up, where it's like, okay, there is this demonic force that a lot of people feel like they're aligned to, especially people in power, that teaches them that what this behavior of, frankly, engaging in these activities with minors and underage people is somehow giving them some type of power that they access. And, this is something that they don't want to expose because it would destroy the fabric of society, whatever, right? Like, let's just go to that realm. So I think that being exposed and us knowing that that's how the world really works is ultimately something that could that God wants us to know, if that is true, but it does have to happen in a timing that makes sense where people can handle that, right? So that it doesn't just become chaos and anarchy. You know what I mean?
I don't think that the most important thing is that we need to know about this. I think the most important thing is that people come to God.
Yeah.
Is that people are, because this could go one opposite way. Like, the most important thing is that people trust in God, and sometimes we don't know exactly how he's playing that out. So like you said, how do we know? But
I think a lot of people would come to God if they found out that that's what the political elite were doing, behind, because I think it's marketed as just a sexual thing, but it's a sacrifice thing.
Yeah.
This how it's marketed to us is just a bunch of rich guys that
Who
are
are perverts. Yeah.
And this is beyond that.
It's deeper.
This goes back to Moloch. This goes back
Right.
to the ancient Egyptians. This goes back to what they were doing
Right.
with their children. They were sacrificing their children. This
goes back even further than that.
Even further than that.
Yeah.
But these beings that this disembodied beings that were here a long time ago, they demand sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. This is not just a bunch of rich guys who just wants to have sex with kids. This is a sacrifice. This is an oath, a blood oath.
Right.
This is what's going on here.
Well, when you look at, like, just, we could talk about that. When you look at the Bible, when you look at the Old Testament, when you look at over and over again the prophets who were coming against these things that were happening with these sacrifices, it was God being patient and speaking on these things little by little to the point where it culminated, right? So again, God is loving, and he knows that it's going to either go here, like, or there's going to be stuff that people take and listen to and honor, and eventually that can deal with that stuff. So what does God want from us? To take responsibility, for believers to take responsibility. Perfect love casts out all fear. Exposure in that way is not the greatest light. The greatest light is when we do the things that we're called to do, is when we're raised up to do the things that we're called to do in a greater way. That's what people come to. I don't think people are going to come to God because things like you see what they're doing. Yeah, they're going to be like, oh, there's evil out there. And there will be people who come to God. But I'm saying on a greater level, the reason why people come to God is because of it says it in the Bible. People repent because of the goodness of God, and when they see the goodness of God. So if God is raising us up to be a standard and to grow in that, and live in that goodness, when these things happen, now you have a place where people can come to. You have that counter, that light shining in darkness. That's all I'm saying. Like, I think God is setting us up, because if we're so focused on the darkness, we'll never become the light. You know what I mean? Like, we have to step into the light and trust God through all this stuff. You can't become the light if you're looking at the darkness. You become the light by looking into the light.
No, looking at it, exposing, not looking at it. I'm talking about when I say people come to Christ, I think when people understand why all of a sudden we had a shift in culture, where all of a sudden there's a promotion of LGBTQ, there's a promotion of transgenderism, there's a promotion of just open defiance towards God's authority. That's part of it too. These people who are doing this is part of their oath, is to disrupt society. We've clearly seen from the 1950s, 40s onwards, there's been a shift in culture from America. Something has happened. And if you go back to there's footage of Nixon saying that when he was taped, and he said, if you go to Bohemian Grove, it's the most faggoty thing you will ever see.
Yeah.
This happened in the 60s and the 50s.
I think it started even earlier than that, like late 1800s.
But what I'm saying is it'll give people an understanding of when did America become like that? It was like that, but it was done behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm. So what I think what you're saying is the darkness, like it's not about looking into the darkness. It's about realizing, wait a minute, it got really dark in here, and we didn't recognize, we didn't see that. Like we allowed our light to become so dim that the darkness has taken over, and now we have to be awakened to the fact that, like, oh, wait a minute, the light has become so dim, and now darkness is everywhere. And I think,
but you can't fight against it if you're not focused in the Lord,
right? But
like,
but that's what I'm getting to. So you realize that the darkness is there, and then you say, oh wait, now I need to focus on the light, and we need to bring this light back. Yeah, now I need to figure out, how do I get this light going again, right?
Right.
And then once we start focusing on that, then now you're seeing the shift, right? Now you're seeing people saw like, wait a minute, trans kids are getting surgeries now. Wait a minute, okay, nah, I need to start. Wait a minute, what's this Jesus thing? Why is there's all of a sudden Gen Z and Gen Alpha are more Christian? Why is it all of a sudden that now they're more interested in Jesus? They're more interested in conservatism. Why is it that way? Because I think people realized it got too dark, and it does take for you to be woken up to that fact, because when things get gradually darkened on you, little by little by little by little, you don't recognize it sometimes because you get used to it. You adapt to it. Yeah. You adapt to it, and all of a sudden you're go ahead.
You do recognize it when you are in the light. You do recognize. That's my point. Like, the church is, the gates of hell won't prevail against the church if we are living the way we were intended to live by faith.
Right.
It's when I think this is just showing us that when we don't stand as the intercessory thing that holds back the darkness, it gets even darker. Right? We're like, the only thing that is not causing this stuff to go straight black is the church. You know what I mean? Like, so, but growing in this is important. What does it say when Jesus is talking to Peter and he's speaking about, and the gates of hell won't prevail against the church? Whatever you loose in heaven, whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. So whatever we accept or allow on earth, God is gonna allow. Whatever we bind or we don't allow, it won't be permissible. It won't be allowed.
Yeah.
And so for us to combat these things, because this is all warfare. So there's all these things that are happening, right? All the sacrifices, all this manipulated witchcraft, all this stuff. But the gates of hell can't prevail against it if we are living in the way God intended us to live, by being the church that God had called us to be. Not being the church we think we should be. How do I be what I don't know how to be? I have to trust him more. Right? That's what I'm trying to say. Like, so we learn that as we go. All these things are grandiose, and it seems so crazy what's going on. But man, God is so much greater than all this stuff. And if we put if we put too much focus on that, and we don't give God enough focus, we won't be able to strategize, and we will fall to the darkness. And I think that's what has happened. We can't strategize. We fall to the rhetoric. We fall to the arguments and the reasoning, right?
Yeah,
that which is darkness.
The other side of that is, if you, like we were saying earlier, if you are only focused on the church and the church culture, and then sometimes you don't even realize that you're in the darkness as well.
I didn't say anything about the church and the church culture. I'm talking about the church that God called us to be comes through Jesus. That's totally that has nothing to do with the church and the church culture focusing on that. That has everything to do with focusing on God, that now it affects us in our culture.
Right.
And it gives, if we stop engaging the world, we become ineffective. Right? So it's as we engage the world, but as we engage the world, we're going to be confronted. And I think it's everything we've been talking about tonight. Like, we stop engaging the world, we start retreating, we start going in because we don't trust in God anymore. And then we start to trust in kind of God, but it's not really God. We start to trust in a kind of Christ, but it's not really Christ, because we're not really believing him.
So you think that we don't need to these things we don't need to talk about or expose, or at least shed light on?
No, I'm not saying that. We can talk about it. Yeah. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm saying we can talk about it. But what the point I was making is that if these things, we don't have control over these things being exposed.
Right.
And if they're not exposed when we want them to, that's okay. Because God, we have to go to the one who does the exposing. And by the light, these things will be exposed. Like eventually, if we engage in God and more truly believers are going and engaging in the world in every place, where are they going to hide? Truly, where's it? There's no more hiding. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But I think we haven't lived up to that as a church. We haven't lived up to that.
But that's that's the point that I'm making, is because you think you're in the light and you're looking around you and you see all this light because your eyes have been adjusting over years and years of indoctrination, and you don't realize you're in the darkness with everybody else. So now it takes for someone to then point it out, like, yo, look how dark it is right now. Look at this thing that you thought was in order is actually not. It's an illusion. Like exposing this Epstein thing and saying, like, all right, look at how Trump and his administration said one thing, and now look how they're moving now. So bringing light to that and shedding light on that is now can be the catalyst for someone to say, you know what, I do need to put my focus back on God, because I was allowing myself to.
Yeah, my faith is not in man.
I was putting too much emphasis on, obsessing over these things happening and going and getting people out to vote, because this is more important than actually trusting in God. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, all those things matter. We should be getting people out to vote. We should be doing all these things. But I think what you're
that's
saying
not
is
the end all to be all.
Yeah, if we're putting them out of order, then that's where we have the problem.
Right.
We have to. We say this all the time. Oh, I put God first, but then I think God shows us, no, you don't.
Yeah.
And we don't look at it. We're not seeing that. And these are all opportunities where we can look at our emotions. To me, I think Vinny showed, like, emotionally, he's not in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I see. Like, I don't think he's wrong, but just because you're right doesn't mean you're in right stance with God. You get what I'm saying? Like,
right.
You can be right and out of the will of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my point. Like, and sometimes if we get so emotional, that might be because we're outside. We want to see what we want to see.
Yeah.
And that's where God can check us and say, okay, let me go back and seek the Lord on these things. And so, you're right.
I think our Facebook shut down.
For real?
Yeah. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're still live on the other ones, but Facebook shut down for some reason.
Yeah, it says it was live.
Maybe it's what we were talking about.
Yeah. But I think we're all, like, saying the same things in a way, just coming from it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
Because all these things I'm not saying we don't talk about these things. I'm not saying we're talking about it now,
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that, we always have to go back to the first thing.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying, but I think there are certain people in different places spiritually that needed to hear or see that there's failures and there's inadequacies in the people that you think or you hope to bring justice. And for them, it is, what you said you were going to do, you're not doing, because they advocated for this. Maybe I need to recalibrate. For us, no, we know that we can't put our faith in man. We can't put our faith in government system. We know that. We know that even though we hope and we pray, we ultimately don't know how God is going to use any leader. He sets up thrones and kingdom tears them down.
Yeah.
We don't know. But for some people, they are riding on a man, they're riding on a woman, they're riding on a political ideology, they're riding on a party. And for them, the exposure is, see, he's going to bring justice. And here they're saying there's nothing to see here. Well, we clearly can see that there's something bigger at play here, but these people are being told, don't do this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's the same Hunter Biden, no laptop, don't worry about nothing going on there. It's the same play.
And when they do it, we expose how they're lying to us, right? And that's just about showing, like, they're going to lie to us.
They're going to lie to us.
Yeah. And we have to like Jake said it, but that's when we then come to the realization, like, okay, let me go to God with this. Let me not. Don't get to the place where you feel despair or feel cynicism or feel like hopelessness. You know, you have to be able to.
There's simply a world that we, the average person, we're not exposed to. There's a hidden world that the elites and very powerful people are in that we don't understand what they do, because I don't think it's just pedophilia from a perverted sexual thing. That's part of it. I think this is ritual sacrifice at play here. The Bible warns against that. It says, don't sacrifice your child.
Yeah.
And they were doing that.
Yep.
The spirit of abortion is Moloch.
Yeah.
Is these ancient deities that they're not gone. They're still here. They still demand it, but it's transformed. It's transformed. And I think that when you start looking into what were they doing back then? What were these cultures doing? When you start studying that, you start understanding, wow, they really believe that child sacrifice brings power.
Yeah.
And these fallen beings demand that.
Yeah.
To get the success that you have to do that.
And when you start looking into like a lot of these occult leaders that were prevalent in the early 1900s and even into the mid 1900s, that a lot of these elite leaders that we looked at as these great men, they followed these people, and they believed in a lot of these teachings, and these teachings do go back to that time. These teachings are ancient, and a lot of that involved the same type of rituals. When you look at Aleister Crowley or who are some of the other ones that Helen Blavatsky and like all of these people that these elites look to as spiritual guidance, or like even like a lot of these secret societies. There's a reason why a lot of them are obsessed with Egypt and Egyptology and
the old world.
Yeah. Because a lot of them are engaged in these weird ritual ideas that go back into biblical times. And
it's funny because we would look at something like the Mayans and we'd say, oh my God, horrific society.
Yeah.
But we have a version of that right now. The abortion clinics.
Yeah.
It's
just
we
not,
just don't see it.
They're just not throwing them off of pyramid steps.
Right.
You go into a clinic and you do it and it feels nice and sterile and nice and procedural.
An estimated 50 million within the black community alone.
Yeah, right.
Like not even mention the white community and other communities. Like that's a lot of people. That's a lot of blood, man.
The genocide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we don't know, like I said, what do they do with these parts? They send them out to do research, stem cell research. It's a sacrifice.
Even organ harvesting, all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That they're doing. Yeah. And a lot of it is you're sacrificing this unborn life for your own self-fulfillment, which is the same thing. So they would say sacrifice your first child to Moloch so that the rest of your children could be successful, or so that you can be successful, or so to appease the gods in a certain way.
Yes.
It's for a selfish, beneficial gain.
Right.
So it's the same concept.
The same concept, yeah.
I will say, though, that there is a big win because Planned Parenthood got funded.
Yeah, yep. And people are upset.
Yeah, but that's a big win. That's a step in the right direction with that. And so even with that, like, how do we speak to people about these things where they can receive it? These are all the arguments that we need to look at. It's not just, we can't just like get mad because it's wrong, right? Like,
yeah.
How do we talk to people? How do we refine our arguments in these things? And that's wisdom that comes from God,
right?
To reach people. And in order to do that, it's not about winning a battle or an argument. It's about winning people's souls, and you can only do that through loving people. It takes time.
Yeah.
Well, part of it too is like what we're doing right now. We're saying, listen, yes, we can call out an administration, a man, an ideology, a political regime, because we're not loyal to that regime. We're loyal to God. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know ultimately, yes, can all of us handle everything? Probably not.
No.
But
and you know, it might do some damage, trauma to you if you found out what was really going on.
It would be traumatic. I mean, you know, but the Bible already tells us that this world does not belong to us. This is right now. Satan is in control.
Yeah.
So he has kingdoms, principalities, and thrones. We're here, and we got to keep going. We got to keep praying and being diligent. With these things that are being exposed, is more. It's more. I think the people who are generally hurt are people who had so much faith and they had a faith in a man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I just checked. I just asked Grok, or I asked the XAI Grok to estimate what percentage the black population would be if they didn't have abortions. Because it's about 13% of the population hasn't grown. The only population in America that hasn't grown, and it says, after doing all the calculations, that it would be around 20 to 25% of the population from 13.
Oh yeah,
that's how many abortions are being had in the black community.
Right.
This is sad, man.
Yeah.
And it's being promoted. It's being given to us.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yep.
It's sad, but it's, man.
And this is why, like, the whole racism, like, you can't expect people to respect you when you don't respect yourself.
Yeah. Man, there was so much stuff I wanted to get to. We're already over 2 hours. But we can save it. We didn't get to Carnival Cruise. It's funny because you sent me some stuff on
but
that.
This was
Jake.
way more important.
Yeah,
than
it was. That's kind of more goofy.
Yeah.
You sent me stuff on that, Jake. I had a bunch of stuff already too for that, and the same thing with the Nate Friedman stuff.
I would just say this though.
Yeah.
Like, I know everybody's going in on black people for this.
Yeah.
It's Carnival that's at fault here.
Absolutely.
And they want to make, now they're coming up with these policies.
Right.
You can't be like, hey, kids are burning down the schools. Why are we letting matches in here?
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
that don't make no sense.
Yeah, you allowed them to bring marijuana. You allowed them to do all these things.
You did that. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I one of the things I hate, and I'm all about addressing cultural deficiencies.
Yeah.
But what it does is just highlights black people. You did that. You said marijuana. You said party on deck. You said all night party. You advertised it as such.
Right.
You said $1,000 for 4 people.
Right.
Who do you think is coming?
Who you think is going to come to that? Yeah.
Right. No. So like I said, I know everybody wants to go in on that part, but my point is, you're doing this specifically. You got your fill. You realize it didn't work out, and
Right.
now you want to change things, mainly because they're losing their regulars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the regulars
because they don't
come.
want to, because like you said, they came up with those policies, but the behavior is what becomes the problem.
Right. But you opened the door for that.
But you still have to address, why does that come along with it?
Right.
Why does that behavior come along with it?
Yeah. Well, it comes along with poor mentality, with the mentality that they come with. But like I said, once you say marijuana, stay up all night, all you can eat, drinks, dancing, as soon as you get on a cruise, it's line dancing. It's certain things.
Right.
You're advertising it as such.
But maybe the people that set up those promotions didn't understand.
They understood it.
You think so?
I think they understood.
You think they thought that it would? I don't think that they thought that it would
didn't
end up.
understand.
I think they knew exactly what
I think they knew who they were marketing to, but they did. I don't think they knew that it would turn into chaos.
All you gotta do is look at every city. It's not hard to figure that out.
Yeah, but you're talking. But what do we talk about with the people that are getting these jobs straight out of college that are being put on these boards? There are a lot of woke, idealistically driven people
that cost them all
that believe in DEI and believe that people steal because they're hungry. You know what I mean?
That's true, but
I'm saying like they don't see. They'll look at the city and think there's nothing. Love is love. Everyone is we're all just great people.
There's some people like that, but I think they do have the ability to do research and find out that, listen, this could be catastrophic. But to them, it's about the bottom. Now they're playing victims like, we tried, but they knew what they were doing. They marketed to a certain type. You're marketing to a certain type of people. You know, you don't see Norwegian Dawn or Victory doing Viking doing this at all.
No, none of the other Royal Caribbean, none of them.
I just got to go back to Kool-Aid. All right, let's go back to Kool-Aid.
The Kool-Aid.
Because I want to say, like, if you, what was that? I don't even remember the name of the show, but on that show, and I don't know if you saw this, James, but it's the whole thing about you're trying to do something that makes sense, and then you go too far, and you don't realize it as you've gone too far with it.
No, that's true. That's partly
what,
that's true. I'm saying what could be true is this. To them, it was seasonal money grab. We're gonna do this from here to there, and then we're gonna make the transition. I think that sometimes that happens too, where they were hurting, they needed the money, and they were like, let's just do it.
But do you think that they anticipated the chaos? Is what I'm saying.
Not to that level, but they knew that some of that would happen. I think that they did. I think maybe not to quite that level, but once you advertise as such, specifically smoking marijuana, staying up all night, party atmosphere, they promoted that on Facebook and social media. They put it out. They put out videos. Look how much fun we're having. They had a video of them with a cruise passing them and showing how lit their cruise was.
Right.
They advertised specifically so that's a video from them.
Right, but to assume that lit is going to turn into, this type of stuff.
There's a disconnect anyway, because the people who are working on these cruises and having to deal with this aren't the same people in the boardrooms.
No, the people on the cruise are always foreigners. Most of them are foreigners.
Yeah, but my point is that they're the ones that are on the ground floor dealing with this mess.
Oh yeah,
day out.
The company set them up to fail.
Yeah, and after a while, they're not going to deal with it. They're not going to want to deal with it anymore. And I think that's the problem. Yeah. They're like, oh, we're not dealing with this anymore. This is too much.
Yeah.
What is this? The cruise?
This is the cruise.
And they're all friends, by the way.
They all came together. There was
Carnival
there was
Glory
ton of
to
videos.
get on a ferry to go over to the Blue Lagoon beach. We stood over an hour in line waiting on the ferry to get here. Finally, when we got on, it went crazy. There's a family of 3 that apparently didn't get the wristbands that is required to go to the beach. No wristband, you don't get off of the boat at the dock. Just that simple. But the mom, she was not having it. She was determined that she was not getting off of this boat. Security came, asked her to leave, and she just kept saying, I'm not getting off of the boat. Over and over again. Her little boy was begging her to get off of the boat, and then the little boy just walked away and broke down and started crying. And to make it worse, it was very hot. Like I can't breathe hot. And one lady started having an asthma attack. At this point, everyone's sweating, waiting and watching this unfold. Finally, a security guard shows up that can actually lift her. And I kid you not, she lifts her up and carries her off of the boat. I've seen a lot on cruises, but this right here was the next level. The moral of the story is when you go on a cruise excursion, get your wristband, don't fight security, and maybe don't ruin your kids' vacation.
Like, this is what we're talking about? Like, this, come on, man.
Yeah, like.
Come on, man.
Like they didn't account for all of that, James.
No.
They didn't. Hold up. Look at this dude. This dude's walking through the halls, taking off everyone's "Do Not Disturb" and filming it.
Rich y'all ass. Ain't no sleep on this motherfucking boat. Take y'all ass.
Like,
no, I'm not saying that they knew everything was gonna happen. I'm just saying this: you advertise a certain thing, you're gonna get that.
Yeah,
you're just gonna get that. You can't say free this from this time to this time and expect people to come and behave right.
I honestly think that there was a few
woke executives,
very woke liberal executives that thought everyone's going to behave,
or it's a money grab.
Well, it could be a money grab, but now why do they have to change up? Because
people stopped going.
Right. So they made a mistake.
Oh yeah.
They didn't factor in all of that.
It's like this. you could pay to go to Six Flags, or you can go to Clementon and get what you get.
Right. Well, Six Flags is turning into that too, to be honest with you. So, but yeah, I think what you were talking about was just like this culture of the dances that they were doing. This was just the turn up culture.
Right. Now that's what they advertise on the commercial.
Right. But now they banned those fans. No one's allowed to bring them fans anymore.
Yep.
Because all the other guests were like, it's getting out of control.
That was at the party on Saturday.
Was it?
Yep.
The fans?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, dude, that's the thing. Hold up.
I sent you a clip about a woman making their kid do the fan thing, Jamie. And the dad was like, nah, we ain't doing that.
Oh, yeah. I'll play that real quick. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't like my baby just doing that. That's not. She's 3 years old and you got her dancing like that. I don't like that.
What's
like,
wrong
really.
with this?
See what's wrong with that, Toya? There's something wrong.
All she doing is just dancing to boots on the ground. There's nothing wrong with that.
I ain't that she's filming, but you know, it's just she's 3 years old, Toya. She's 3 years old and got her dancing like that.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Cho, come on, let's finish popping our booty for daddy. Come on. Go, Cho, look. You still don't like it?
I don't like that. That's not cute. Y'all think that's cute? Putting these little girls on the internet.
I don't see
doing
anything
boots
wrong
on,
with it, if you ask
doing
me.
that song. She's 3 years old, Toya, and you got her 3 years old, and you got her doing the dancing like that on the internet. I
But
don't like
there's
that. I don't
other
like my
kids
baby
that's
dancing like
doing
that on
this.
the internet.
She's
That
not
ain't
doing
cute.
nothing inappropriate.
All right. Well, wait till they see how she dances. Go ahead. Show them how she dancing.
Come
then.
on, Stank.
You see how she dancing.
I don't see anything wrong with it. It's cute, actually.
I know, come on. Sit. Stank.
Yeah, like we gotta put a stop to this.
Yeah.
Caring about all this nonsense.
Listen, he addressing. I'm just guaranteeing you, she's been giving him that since they met.
Yeah, of
to
course.
now pretend like I don't like
She's
that.
3 years old. Yeah.
Come on, man.
And that's the grandmom along with her, you know. So
Yeah.
He grew up in that.
Yeah. But yeah, they love that fan stuff, man. It's like they always jump on these little trends, and
Yeah.
everybody just goes along with it.
Everybody wants to go viral, man. That's one of the worst things about the internet, man, is everybody wants these moments. Everybody wants to be seen.
Yeah.
You know?
There's nothing wrong with it. You know how many people say that, and then they find out the hard way down the line, and that's what's sad. And that's where men have to stand up. Like, I like that he's pushing back, but he need to push back a whole lot more than that.
He should have been pushing back for a long time.
Yeah, that
Right.
the mom is. I don't see nothing. You hear the mother.
Yeah.
saying, I don't see nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's cute.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna play one more video of the carnival stuff, and then we'll wrap it up. Top 5 things I'd rather do than be on an EBT filled carnival cruise.
Top 5 things I'd rather do than be on this cruise line with these EBT members. Let's watch. Number 5, share a bunk bed with one of these black and mild, loud talking EBT members. Selling you nothing
Dude's
but
crazy.
hopes and dreams and telling you about the way the white people are holding us down. Number 5. Number 4, sit through a DEI workshop hosted by Lizzo and Kamala Harris. It sounds like a fucking horrible time, just like this cruise ship does. Man.
Yeah, okay, you get it. Yeah. But yeah. So I had been seeing the Carnival cruise clips for months, on X and stuff, people saying like,
I've seen them too.
What is going on at Carnival Cruise, calling it the spirit of the cruise line, Spirit Airlines, because it was just like these crazy clips going around, fights, packed cruises like that where people, line dancing all over the place. And I think, like you said, they had an idea that they were going to make some money with these discount cruises, and then it backfired. And their regulars were like, who would want to be
Yeah, and that's why I know we're making fun of them of the behavior, but what I'm saying is from the logistics standpoint, I know this. One of the things is most of these crews are they're European captains and they're Filipino or Jamaican crews.
Filipino,
mostly
big
Filipino.
time, yeah. Remember the Soul Train cruise? Jake was all Filipinos.
So what I'm saying is this: one of the things that I realize, and I know this for a fact because I cruised on Norwegian a couple of times, and some of them are there, and I've met this guy. You're contracted.
Yeah.
Those captains and those crew are contracted
for months.
Yeah. You can't have a crew down because they gotta get paid.
Mhm.
And when you pay for docking fee, you pay all that stuff is paid in advance.
Mhm.
You just can't be like, not enough people, we're not going.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is this: yes, did they know? Yes, but they rather have because they don't want to lose their spot. These cruise lines don't want to lose when they go, how they go. They want to keep a regular route going.
Mhm.
They've already booked the food.
Yeah.
They've already paid for stuff. So, yes, are these people behaving a certain way? But these crews are aware of it, but they rather just take the money and keep their spot. So it all comes back to greed again. It's just money. They don't care what, because these executives and these woke people who say, let's do this, they're not on those cruises.
Right. They don't have to be there.
I have to get a little bit of more information on this. I never saw this. So what happened? They lowered the price or something?
They sold these packages where it was like four people for $1,000, and they were letting people bring marijuana on board. They were doing all night parties. They were trying to turn it into like this party cruise, and they did these drink packages where it was unlimited drinks, where people were getting extremely drunk and high, and then people were getting in fights. People were falling in pools. People were, just the behavior was crazy. Which, like James was saying, like when you open your door to those type of environments, those are the things that are going to happen.
Exactly. You can't feel bad for them because, like I said, I
don't feel bad for them.
They did it on purpose.
Yeah, I just find it funny. Like the people.
I think it's sad though. The state. It does show how sad it is of what we're going through with the state of a lot of Black Americans.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Well, why was that guy saying EBT?
He was making a joke. He was saying that
I thought maybe they were able to use their
because a lot of these people who are going on these cruises, they got EBT card. They shouldn't be going on trips.
Yeah. If the government is buying you groceries, you shouldn't be on a cruise. Yeah. Well, not the government, our tax dollars. Yeah. Yeah. Which was another thing that we were going to get into was all these people posting about their EBT hauls because they're worried about that coming to an end. But yeah, we'll talk about that another time. But yeah, I agree with you, James. They invited that in. I don't feel sorry for Carnival at all. I just find it funny that now they're being called racist because they put a stop to all of that because their new rules are like no Bluetooth speakers, no hip hop music. No.
In terms of the clubs.
Yeah, you remember the clubs were like they couldn't say no black people, so they would just ban all the things that black people like.
I just brought a cutout and they put all the clothes in it. Like, don't come here if you look like that.
Jamie, how about when we went to La Placita?
Yeah.
Which is in San Juan.
Yes.
Where it's like people go and dance or whatever. And we go around the corner and it's like you can't hear nothing because the music's so loud. And there's like way more security guards.
Yeah. When you go around the corner into like the darker alley part of it, that's where all the hip hop clubs were. And it's funny because like they love loud music in Puerto Rico. So even on the street, like say you're walking through, because it's kind of like an Old City type vibe, right? So say you're walking through Old City, but the clubs have speakers in the doorway blasting into the street.
Oh,
yeah.
So
every club you walk by is blasting music in your face as you walk by. But like Jake was saying, when you get to the hip hop club area, a ton of security guards out there. It's like, yeah.
It's a shame, man.
Yeah.
Culture of chaos. But like I said, this is indicative of the executives. They're not on there.
Right.
And they would never cruise their own line.
Nope.
They're cruising on Viking.
No, they're on the private yachts. Those
Right.
executives, please.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up there, guys. Appreciate it. I mean, we had some good debate, some good discussion tonight. We touched on some good stuff. Can't put our faith in this government at all. Put our faith in God. I do like a lot of stuff that the Trump administration is doing right now, but yeah, we're going to hold them accountable because we are not like the cultist members. We're going to call out the stuff that we don't agree with and call out the stuff that they're lying about it that doesn't make sense. That doesn't mean, because I hate this, like, you're either this or that mentality. Right. That doesn't mean that we hate Trump now, or that doesn't mean that we're, traitors, or that doesn't mean that wish we would have voted for Kamala at all. But we're just being honest about what we see.
We're truth seekers. We're not. We're not tied to political ideologies.
Exactly. We're independents for real. But yeah, make sure you guys share this video with your friends. Again, if you want to support what we do, if you want to help grow the community of the Young Lions, make sure you go and become a Patreon member. Shout out to our loyal Patreon members. We appreciate you guys. Patreon.com/Young Lion TV. Also, if you want to get the merch, it's on our website. Link in the description. Also, we got a show coming up on July 26th in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, at Steel City Coffee Brewing Company. So make sure you guys get those tickets now. That place fills up fast. So Steel City. Go to our website for those ticket links as well. And that's it, man. We appreciate everybody. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.
Young Lion, go live, yeah. Young Lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight people in.